Code to Enhance Learning presents the CEL video series for creating apps in Thunkable. Through this video series, we aim to introduce you to the world of creating your own apps through platforms like Thunkable. Hello everyone, this is Ayush and I'm excited to see you all today. As you all know, I love coding and I am a regular participant at CEL Hackathon. I will be your host for today.
Welcome to the 9th episode of the series Mole Mash. In the last episode, we learned how to build a complete space game. We have iterated a number of times that games are fun and they have cognitive benefits too. Mole Mash is a simple game in which a mole jumps randomly around the screen and you try to touch it to get points. Build this game and learn how to add timing and randomness in your apps. Today, we will make a mole mash game to learn about concepts like timing and randomness in our game. Let us look at the demo of the project. Our aim is to squash the mole when it starts moving on the screen. When the game starts, the mole starts moving on the screen and appears at different positions. We need to click on the mole to squash it. When we click on the mole, it changes its costume and also plays a sound. We score a point each time we squash the mole. I can click the reset button to reset the game and the score resets to 0. Let's play again. This is how our game should work. Let us start by designing the prototype of the app. Before making it in Thunkable, we will create a draft in a notebook. I have used the canvas component as a background to add all my sprites. I have used labels to add the title and score in my game. I have created the mole sprite which will move randomly in the game. I have added a button which will reset the game. This brings us to task 1. Pause here and create your own prototype for Mole Mash game in your notebooks. You can build on the idea that is shown to you by adding features of your own. After making the draft, I have designed the app like this in Thunkable. Let us look at this in detail. Now let's design the app. I am changing the screen background color to green. I am adding the canvas element to the screen by dragging it from the components and changing its size. I am adding two labels, one for the title of the project and the other for the score. I will change the text and also rename the label. Next, I will add a button underneath the canvas and rename it as Reset Button. Then I go to the stage. Here, I will change the stage background color to green. I will also change the frame background color to green. Next, I will delete the existing sprite type and add my own sprite type. I will add two images to the sprite type, mole and mole2, by uploading them from my computer. These images can be found in the resources folder in the video description. I will rename this sprite type to call it mole. Next, I will create a new mole sprite by dragging it onto the screen. I change its image to the one where the mole is visible. I rename the sprite to call it mole. The completed design of the app looks like this. This brings us to task 2. Create the design of the app in Thunkable as per your prototype. Add the canvas element and add sprite type and sprites. Let us now look at the variables we need to create for our app. We know that the score will change during the course of our game. So we will create a variable called score and initialize it to 0. The mole also keeps moving in the project continuously. So we create variables for the x and y coordinates of the mole and initialize those values to 0 as well. This brings us to task 3. Create the variables needed for our project in the block section. Before we move further, let us have a look at the timer component which we will be using in our project. Timers enable us to start or stop something in our app or even do an action at regular intervals. The timer component is available in the block section under app features. The timer has properties like interval, count up, count down, looping the timer, or enable or disable the timer. Let us see how to create the timer for use in our app. I go to the blocks panel and under app features, I click on the plus button near the timer. I name my timer mole call. As I want the mole to move every 2 seconds, I set the timer interval to 2 seconds. I will loop the timer so it fires every 2 seconds till I stop. I also enable the timer since I need the timer to fire at the start of the project. I click submit to create the timer. Now you can see that our timer has been created. We will use this when we code the project. Let us now look at the concept of functions. Functions are self-contained modules of code that accomplish a specific task. Functions usually take in data, process it, and return a result. Once a function is written, it can be used over and over again. Functions can be called as many times as we want in a project. Let's understand functions with an example. Cricket is a game we all love, right? So, if I am writing a function to play cricket, it will look like this. I have named the function as play cricket and it has the steps for me to play. This is how I create a function. Now, I need to call the function for it to work. As you can see here, I can call the function multiple times, and each time I call the function, all the steps inside the function will be executed. Let us see how we will use functions when we code our project. Now, let us use the timer and the functions we learned about in our app. Can you think about all the times when our mole needs to move in our app? First, it will move when the game starts and continue to move every 2 seconds. It will also move when we click on it. Finally, the mole will also move when the game restarts. So as you can see, the codes for moving the mole are going to get repeated many times in our project, and hence I will be creating a function for moving the mole. I go to the functions tab and bring the first block and I name the function moveMole. First, I will set the image of the mole to image number 2 since I want the mole to be fully visible. Next, I will set the x variable to a random number from 0 to 300 to cover the width of the canvas. I will set the y variable to a random number from 0 to 400 to cover the height of the canvas. Then I will move the mole sprite to the x and y variables I just set. Then I will show the mole sprite. Wait 1 second and then hide it. This completes my moveMole function. I will need to run this function whenever the timer fires. So I bring the block mole call fires and then call the moveMole function when it fires. Let us see if the project works. As you can see, the mole is moving all over the screen when the project starts. Our app is working till now. This brings us to task 4. Create a function to move the mole all over the canvas and test the project to see if it works. Now that the mole has started moving all over the canvas, we need to see what happens when we squash the mole. When we click on the mole, the first thing that we do is to stop the timer which controls the movement of the mole. We then increase the score by 1 point. We change the image of the mole to image 1, which is the hidden image of the mole. Next, we set the score label to the score variable value. Next, we play a sound. For this, we can upload a sound file using the Upload an Asset option in the Play Sound block. The sound file I am using can be found in the resources link in the video description. You can upload your own sound file as well. After playing the sound, we wait for 1 second, after which we hide the mole sprite. Now I want the mole to start moving again, so I start the timer and then call the moveMole function here. This is the second call to the function I am making. Next, we need to reset the game when the reset button is clicked. When the reset button is clicked, we need to move the mole, so we again call the moveMole function. This is our third call to the same function. We then set the score variable to 0 and change the score label text to show the score variable value. This brings us to an end of our coding project. Let us test to see if the game works. As you can see, The mole starts moving when the game starts. We will try clicking on the mole. The score increases, the image of the mole changes, and the sound is playing. Let us click the reset button. The score resets to 0. We have a fully functional game now. This brings us to task 5. Write codes to do the following when the mole gets squashed. Increase the score, change the image of the mole, and play a sound. Also, write the codes to reset the game. Can you think of some additional things we can do to make our mole mash game interesting? Some ideas could be to have a different type of mole which appears very rarely, but you can get more points if you squash it. We could also add a congratulatory message if we reach 50 points. There are many such ways you can improve the game. Now, let us do a recap of the concepts we have learned today. Which of the following is correct code using functions to make a character appear randomly at different locations at a regular interval of time? The answer option is B. Hope you got that right. In the next episode, we will be creating a game based on an Indian snack shop. I'll see you in the next video. This is Ayush signing off. Bye.